शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. So last time, if you see, last session we concluded the topic of 24 gurus as mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we start with the next topic, that is Vriksha Ayurveda. Now please note, topic Vriksha Ayurvedam is different from Ayurveda Shastra. Though you can consider it as maybe a branch of Ayurveda Shastra, but still it is different from the original Ayurveda. It talks about only vrikshas that are being used. That is only the science of, you can say, study of trees that is being used and their medicinal benefits and so on. So this is Vriksha Ayurveda. So let's start. Now the Gita has a verse. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavaha. So this verse is usually chanted before consuming food. It means food from plants. That is annam. That is the, you can say, it is a support or it is a base for humanity. And the base for food is Parjanyam. So first is Parjanyam, rains. From that Annam, from Annam is Bhutam. Bhutam is nothing but living creatures like us, field plants, animals, human beings, and so on. So rains, crops, that is food, and then ultimately Bhutas, that is living creatures. So it is like the life support that is needed. So rains are the support for trees, and trees are instead, or you can say indeed, the next support for human beings in order to produce food so that we can consume and we can live healthy. So this is chapter 2. You have this verse. Annad bhavanti bhutani. Chapter 3. Sorry, verse number 4. Next. So the base of Vriksha Ayurveda is the importance of food and crops. Now, Aranyani Sutram. Aranyani is a goddess who has got a mention in the Rig Veda, and you have a few hymns, few stotras in the Rig Veda. The Rig Veda we have already seen Vedic literature, so you know the Veda, especially the Rig Veda, glorifies natural elements surrounding around us, gods and goddesses who are present in nature. So Aranyani is a mother goddess. She is a goddess of forest. That's how another word for forest is Aranyam. So this is one word for forest, and here you get an you can say a reference that Aranyani is a mother god of forest, animals, trees, and this is mentioned in the Aranyani Suktam. Few of them chant this Suktam. Suktam is a hymn or a prayer in praise of the goddess. It comes in the 10th mandala of the Rig Veda. Okay. Next. So you see this, what it shows is in our culture we have the habit, or it is a tradition to worship even forests, even trees, so even cutting trees, or maybe you can say safeguarding trees, rivers, and so on. So from here starts the concept of looking at trees also with a, you can say that's the reason we worship trees, rivers, and so on also as gods. So Aranyani is a mother goddess. You have the Suktam, Aranyani Suktam in the Rig Veda. Next comes the topic of Vriksha Ayurveda. Vriksha Ayurveda is a science of plants or the wellness of plants, how plants should be grown, what kind of you can say uh, chemicals, or you can say feed, insecticides, fertilizers should be used for plants. How will the plants grow well? How should we take care of them so that it will result in good produce and so on. So this is a part of Vriksha Ayurveda. Now, Vriksha Ayurvedam, how it has come. Now, there are Vriksha Ayurvedam is one text which is written by Surapala. Surapala, again, a great Sanskrit scholar. But you have its reference a bit in the Agni Puranam. Now, a few of us, we had studied Agni Puranam a few days back in the Purana sessions. If you remember, there in the Agni Puranam, we have little mention of seeds, plants, and so. Not much, but it just touches upon that topic. Agni Puranam Vedavyasa, composed by Vedavyasa. Arthashastram by Chanakya. Brihat Samhita Varahamira. Now, Chanakya, though we know him to be a very, you can say, shrewd political advisor or so, little bit he highlights the importance of plants. Maybe for a basic, now you might be wondering why Chanakya has to speak about plants, right? The very simple reason maybe for that would be Now, if a kingdom or if a place has to flourish well, we have to take care of the vegetation part. And when we talk about vegetation, agriculture, even today, if you see, more than 70% India is contributing in the primary sector, that is agriculture, right? So maybe none amongst us, but still agriculture is the most, you can say, most important occupation that is there in India. So therefore in Bharatadesha, this was a time wherein if a kingdom had to flourish, the main occupation that has to grow is agriculture, and later of course animal husbandry, that is rearing of cattle and so on, also developed, but the most primary occupation was agriculture. So therefore its mention would have been made in Arthashastra also by Chanakya to make Chandragupta Maurya understand the importance of plants, importance of contributing a lot for agricultural development. Because if agriculture flourishes, only then will the kingdom will flourish. So that is the reason little bit knowledge of Vrikshayurvedam has been mentioned even in Arthashastra. Next you have Brihat Samhita. Brihat Samhita is a text which talks about, you can say, rain harvesting methods, water treatment methods, and so on. And where exactly, so Varahamira was a great scholar. He had made so many predictions and he has done a lot of research and study wherein he could say how we can find water. Say, for example, now, if a building or something has to be constructed, you have to dig down, right? And down you see whether groundwater is available, and then the actual construction starts. So, but where can we find out? Now, anywhere you dig, maybe you keep digging, digging down, 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 you might find water. But where exactly will we find water? For that, it seems that there are certain indications. So, Varahamira in his Brihat Samhita, what he mentions is, like, this is just one topic. It's not related to Vriksha Ayurveda. I'm just sharing for your knowledge. It seems that he mentions that there are certain indications. Say, for example, at a certain distance from a place where I'm standing, say, for example, at a distance of a few meters or so, there will be so and so tree belonging, say, a jamun tree. I'm just giving an example, a jamun tree. From a particular distance, say, for example, 12 meters. 12 meters from here, there will be a jamun tree diagonally. And nearby you might find a snake also. There'll be a small hole there. Inside the ground you'll find a snake. So this is an indication that there is some water, it seems. Now you might feel all this is just madness, right? I'm standing here, 12 meters away there's a jamun tree, nearby there should be a ground, there should be a snake. You dig that place, there will be water. Now I'm just giving you a rough example. In the Brihat Samhita, he mentions things differently. So the thing is, through this, what is mentioned, you have such a tree there, or you have an animal like a snake, a reptile like a snake there, is an indication that animals also react to surroundings. So animals, it seems, they are quite reactive, and certain trees also. So wherever there's a presence of water, such trees will be there. Because trees, if you see, especially trees like people tree or the banyan tree and so on, they have their roots. So how do they get water is their roots go under the ground and they get water. That's how they keep growing, right? So therefore, when the roots go underground, it's an indication that water might be there inside. That's the reason the roots are growing underground, right? So like this, there are different indications that are there. And it seems that the snake also, it gets to know where is the water because it keeps moving on the ground, right? So maybe the soil becomes, you can say, damp. So that is the reason it can feel that, and it indicates that groundwater is full. So like this, I'm just giving you one example. Like this, there are many mentions that are made. Varahamira highlights the importance of rainwater harvesting and so on, how water should be saved, how we can find out where exactly is water, how bore wells can be built, and so on. He also highlights about Vriksha Ayurvedam. Next, a text itself was dedicated to Vriksha Ayurvedam written by Surapala. That was roughly, you can see, in the 1000 CE, almost the 10th century. Next, Vriksha Ayurvedam in all is divided into 12 chapters. Surapala, you can consider him. He was a great Sanskrit scholar and a sage too. So Vriksha Ayurvedam is in all divided into 12 chapters. Chapter 1 talks about, now what exactly is the contents. Now we are not going to go very deep, but to in just the gist of the topic. First topic talks about, first chapter, Bhumi Nirupana, different types of soil. So in India, if you see, when you study in geography, you have the concept of soil, right? Black soil, red soil, or muddy soil, this, that. There are different types of soils that are there. So depending, especially if you see, maybe the central part of India has got a lot of black soil also. Then some parts have got red soil. So that depending on the soil that is there, the vegetation depends on that. So the types of soil, then fertility. black soil, alluvial soil, this soil, we say, right? Looking at the kind of soil that we have, especially maybe if it is a red soil or so, you can say like brick color soil, you will not have a lot of vegetation that grows there. Whereas you have the black color or the brown color soil, maybe that will have a lot of rich nutrients and plants can grow. Even at our houses also, when we keep small plants, you see sometimes plants grow. Sometimes the plants don't grow, right? For that, what we do, we change the soil. After a few days, we keep changing the soil so that maybe there might be some problem with the soil also. But sometimes when we buy soil, you see they will have small pebbles or stones in it. So we try to remove that. So like this, there are different kinds of soil that has been mentioned here. Depending on the type of soil, the plants are mentioned and the need of water. Now, again, when you have a small plant, say for example, you grow a small sapling or plant at your house, in the first stage itself, you don't pour more water. Initially, when you just sow the seeds, you pour very little water because the plant is not at all grown, so the quantity of water also should be less. But slowly, as the plant keeps growing, morning and evening you pour water. But that too, there is a specific quantity, right? Maybe you consider half vessel or whatever container you use to pour water. Depending on that, there is a certain quantity. Beyond that, we don't increase. It's not that for a small sapling also we pour a bucket of water, right? So the bucket, the water amount also, the quantity of water depends upon the plant. So how much a plant needs in different stages. Maybe initially when it is growing, it needs little water. Now say for example, plants like cactus also, cactus or I think even aloe vera, such plants, they do not need water always. In fact, they need less water. So you don't have to water them every day. Whereas a tulsi plant or other, if you say the flower plants like a rose also, if you keep, you need to water them every day, maybe that too twice, right? So like this, there are different things. Or maybe when we grow a new plant, say for example those uh, pulses also, such plants, what we do at that time is maybe you need to water them 3 or 4 times in a day initially when they're about to sprout. Now sprouts, if you say like moong also, if you try to grow, most of us would have done this, right? As kids also, even in school also, they sometimes tell the kids to bring such things. So if the teacher tells on a Monday that no, you have to get a plant, so by Friday, in 2 days time or so, it has to sprout. And sprouts, they grow quite fast. That is, the sprouting takes place quite easily. So therefore, what we do is, in a day, we end up watering the plant 3 or 4 times. But the quantity of water is very much less. Maybe you can say a small glass of water or so, that's it. But immediately after a day or two, you can see the sprouts slowly coming up and then the plant is nicely grown. Right? So depending on the plant, the need of water is also decided. And depending on the type of the plant, like I told you, cactus or aloe vera, they need less amount of water, so you don't need to water them every day. So all this is spoken about in chapter 1 called Bhumi Nirupana or Bhumi Nirupanam, how the soil, how the water, how the land should be taken care of. Next chapter, chapter 2, Bijokti Viti. Bijokti Viti, that is seeds. Now if you have to grow a plant, obviously you have to sow the seeds, but before sowing, the seeds should be taken care of. That is, all the seeds should be preserved properly. Then, now the seeds that we grow, the plant, it depends on the seeds that are sown, right? As you sow, so you reap. So the seeds should be of high quality, they should be very good. So first the seeds should be taken care of, a lot of preservation should be done there. Maybe now you have a lot of chemical testing, this and that, pesticides and insecticides are put. But in general also, the seeds, if you have to grow a plant at your own house, we wash the seeds properly, we dry them and so on. So depending on the plant that we need to grow, there are different rules that we follow. You see sometimes vegetable plants also, if we grow, what we do is maybe you just put it up. Some seeds that are there, you have to put it under the soil, you have to cover up with soil and so on. So it depends on the plant also. So all this is mentioned in Bijoktiviti. So Bija has seed. So properly the seeds have to be preserved and taken care of. Only then the plant will grow nicely. So the second chapter is Bijoktiviti. Third is Padapavivakshaha. Padapavivakshaha meaning biology of various plants and trees. Meaning now this is a root that is there, right? So you can see a root, out of that a tree or a plant has grown. So various plants and trees, just as now biology is for human beings. The human beings, the structure is different. For a dog, life structure is different. For a cat, it will be different. For wild animals, it's different. Similarly, for plants also, depending on the plants that are there, the biology is different. Like say, for example, say you go to the north side, maybe the snowy regions also. I think in geography you call dry forest, coniferous forest, something like that you call. Wherein what happens is there, if you see the plants that are there, they will seem to be very dry, right? That is, you cannot actually see those green leaves and so on. It will be very dry, brown color leaves, maybe straight. The trees grow very straight, they'll not be very bushy, very leafy. That is one category of plants. So basically the different category of plants, how a particular plant is there, depending on the climatic conditions around. So if it is a snowy region, obviously you cannot expect green lushy plants to grow there, green trees. Obviously it will be those dry seeds, dry leaves that are there, which are suitable to that climate. You go to south or so, maybe you find a lot of rubber plantations, right? Because it is suitable to that weather. Maybe you go to places like Maharashtra or so, certain places in central part you have mango trees because it is suitable to this climate. So like this, depending on the place that we live in, of course, that doesn't mean like say for example fruit trees or so. We don't try. It's not that we don't grow in other parts, but certain trees are native to that place. Say for example, coconut trees in South India, you find the abundance. That doesn't mean that in other parts they are not there, but then that particular weather or that particular climate is suitable for those plants to grow. And the various categories and types of plants, like say for example a coconut tree structure is all to, or a palm tree, it's altogether different, right? It will grow very long, but it will have its fruits up, leaves are different, the shape of leaves are also different. A banyan tree, people tree, maybe you can consider in one category because they grow, they turn out to be very old also. But maybe a banana plant, banana tree, you can uproot it easily, right? And maybe even heavy rains coming, the tree might fall off. Whereas in the case of a people tree or a banyan tree, even during storm like situations, the tree might not fall off because it's quite strong. So all this is included in this chapter. Padapavi Vaksha meaning, or Padapavi Vaksha is also the name that is used, meaning biology of various plants and trees. It's not that all plants and trees are same. There are different features, different characteristics for each of these plants. So we have to know this very well. Only then a plant can be grown properly. Now I'll give you one example for this. Do we grow people tree at our houses? We don't do that, right? You grow small plants. If you have to grow something at your house, grow a tulsi or maybe some flowering plants. Like even if you have a big garden also in your own house, some people have the terrace garden, this and that. We don't grow banyan trees or people trees, right? Because it needs a lot of space. And that's the reason if you see people trees and banyan trees, what they do is they have a lot of you can say even in buildings or houses, their roots are so deep they'll keep spreading. Sometimes they might even enter into our walls, it seems, that is built. Has anyone seen this, the roots of trees entering structures? Have you come across this, anyone? No, the root also it enters even our houses and walls. Yeah. So it, and then what happens is it's quite dangerous, right? Then you call someone to cut it off and so on. So that is why it happens is the roots keep spreading very well, and that's you can say very fast. That's the reason you cannot keep a banyan tree or you cannot grow these plants at your house. So that is all this description is given. Next is chapter number 4, Rupana Vidhi. Rupana Vidhi meaning, now trees, why are they called living creatures? Because they have something called simulation or reaction. Best example for this is the touch me not plant. You, even if you don't actually touch it, even with the sensation of your finger, even if someone goes near it also very close, if you try to go, it closes its leaves, right? After sometimes it opens, but still this is simulation, that is it reacts. Or maybe there is a storm or so that is happening due to the rains or heavy wind, the trees keep blowing so harshly, especially trees like a coconut tree or a palm tree. You can see how they blow as if they want to fall, they keep swaying from one side to another. So it depends. This is simulation. That is, they react. So that's the reason why plants and trees also fall in the category of living beings, because they keep moving. They react to the environment. That's the reason why sometimes you see you put some chemicals also in a fruit tree. One fine year, maybe a fruit bearing tree will not bear fruits. Why? So some people will say no, some chemical or something has been put. That's the reason the tree is not bearing fruits that year. So such things happen because Rupana Vidhi, the trees are affected. There's a kind of simulation. There's a sense in the tree also. Best example is a touch me not plant. So depending on the way the environment reacts, it also has differences. This is explained in chapter number 4. Next chapter, chapter 5, Nishchana Vidhi. Now irrigation methods. Now you have something called drip irrigation. You have sprinkle irrigation. Especially those who know a little bit of science, geography, or farming also. If you are interested, you might know such things. Irrigation is nothing but how the water has to be sent to the plants in the farm or the field. It's not that every time you take a big bucket of water and pour it, or with a hose pipe you pour plants like we do it to our houses. In our own house, maybe you have a small bottle or a particular vessel for that, it is okay. But in the field also, and that too depending on the different stages when the plant grows. If initially the plant is growing, like newly the seeds have been sown and so on, then water that is needed should be less. But slowly, maybe if the plant is in its growing stage also, it might need more water. So depending on that, drip irrigation, sprinkle irrigation, such things are. Drip is the water keeps dripping continuously. If a plant needs water continuously, it will have such kind of that is where the drip irrigation method is followed. Sprinkle is if you, the amount of water needed is not much, water just sprinkles. That is sprinkle irrigation. So these are different methods and techniques of irrigation. So you see, Vrikshayurvedam almost, you saw it, 100th century, 100 CE, 1000 CE, sorry. So that is so many years back all such methods have been mentioned, and we have people who have been following this. But today's time, what we feel is, we feel everything is just today. We have modern methods of irrigation, modern techniques of agriculture. It is not at all so. In our own scriptures, our own books, so much of information is mentioned. And surely we had our ancestors who were practicing this. Whether they had actually read Vrikshayurvedam and then they followed or no, we never know. But at least maybe they looked at others, things were being done in this way, maybe they just saw and they practiced. That can also be one thing. But where we have the methods, where has something existed, for this now you have the proof of Vrikshayurvedam. Next is chapter 6. Poshana Vidhi. Poshana Vidhi, fertilization. Now we have a lot of fertilizers that we put, chemical fertilizers, organic fertilizers. Nowadays, most of us we prefer a lot of organic food, right? Plants that are cooked or vegetables we buy. Maybe it is a bit costly, but still it's good for our health and so on. So kind of fertilizers. Now at home also when we grow certain plants, maybe the you can say the skin of few vegetables also we put in the soil, right? That's a good fertilizer. So such things we do, or maybe sometimes if people prepare what you call it, manure. So, not manure. What do you call that? Using those vegetable peels and everything with mud, they will prepare and they will store it, and then later it will be used for their house plants also. What is that called? Manure, right? Compost, sorry. So manure is different, sorry, that's a compost is nothing. So you create that, maybe you store it in a particular place, and then that is used for your plants also, so that plants grow very nicely. So such things are being done. So there are different types and techniques that are used in fertilization. One is most common chemical fertilizers. You add a few insecticides, pesticides and so on, so that no ants and other insects they come and uproot the plant. That is one method. We also have organic fertilizers and also preparing such compost. At home also you prepare using different vegetable peels, this and that. That is Poshana Vidhi. Poshana meaning to take care. Now just growing a plant, watering it, sowing the seeds is not enough. We have to take care also. Right? Otherwise the plant will die. So Poshanam is also a very, very important technique in Vriksha Ayurvedam. Poshana Vidhi. Next you have chapter number 7. Dhrumarksha. Dhrumarksha is saving plants from extreme weather conditions. Now, say for example, if there is heavy rains or untimely rains that come, especially now during the rainy season, please hold on. Yeah. So, say for example, the rainy season, the normal rainy season of 4 months, maybe from June till September or so, if rains fall, it is okay, it is favorable. Right? Whereas untimely rains fall, or maybe during the rainy season you don't have rains at all, obviously it is going to affect the plants, right? Or maybe due to some natural disasters. Now you have a lot of natural disasters that come in, be it a tsunami or be it some famine or a cyclone like situation. So during such times, what happens is it has an impact on the growth of the plant, or it tries to destroy the plant. So during such, you would have seen, even if you have gone to a farm or so, they will have some certain or maybe even to protect it from animals, wild animals, or insects, birds, and so on. Like a scarecrow is one part, the most common example. Then mainly they will have some maybe using wooden sticks also. Something they'll prepare a protection cover. So mainly saving plants from extreme weather conditions. And if trees are broken or some plants are, you can say, they have died in between or so, then certain things are done in order to improve the growth of the plant. So this is Dhruma Raksha. So basically protection of plants is included in this chapter. Next, chapter number 8. Taru Chikitsa. Taru is pest. Now obviously if a plant has to grow, pests are going to attack, we cannot avoid it. But if such things happen, then different pesticides, there's a use of pesticides. So what people do is sometimes they will keep those, you can say, even at our houses also, For mosquitoes also, what we do, we light sometimes camphor, this and that, and we keep, right? Such things sometimes, such you can say strong smelling elements, they are kept for even in the plant so that the plants are protected. Taru chikitsa, that is treatment from a lot of pest infections. Next. Ninth is Upavana Kriya. Upavana Kriya, also the concept of house gardening. So nowadays you have the very nice, you can say a very good concept of terrace garden, house gardening, home garden. People do this, right? Maybe you have a small place also, like your own balcony, gallery, but still people grow plants in that. That is house gardening. This method was explained right back then in Ayurveda. That is in Riksha Ayurveda, which talks about house garden. That is house plants, how you can build up a garden, what kind of plants are used to plant inside a house. Like I told you, you cannot maybe plant trees like a pipil or a banyan and so on, or even a coconut tree for that matter. If you're planting trees in a house, there are certain limitations. Only certain plants can be grown. All that is mentioned in this type. Upavana Kriya. Upavanam is a garden. So to make a home garden at your houses. Chapter 10, Nivasannataru, benefits as well as the dangers of various plants and trees. Say, for example, a cactus plant. Cactus, as such, if you see, it's quite dangerous. It's very thorny, right? Or even a rose plant. Rose, plucking the rose flower, it looks very beautiful, we pluck it. But we have to also remember the thorns that are present. Otherwise, it is going to pluck you, right? Or maybe certain plants have some poisonous elements also, like uh, some plants leaves or some plants we use for maybe cough infections or maybe throat problems, but you have to consume them in the right way. Maybe you cannot rawly pick up any leaf and just consume it directly. Maybe you have to boil it and then water is consumed and so on. So benefits as well as dangers. So certain plants are known for that, or even hibiscus for that matter, maybe for hair growth and so on they use, as well as it is used for good purposes. So like this, some few examples I'm giving you. In general, the benefits, that is advantages and disadvantages of various plants and trees has been mentioned in chapter number 10. Nivasanna Taru. Next. Taruhu is for use a word for plant. Next. Sorry, what do you say? No, no, no. Taruhu is one word which is used for this trees. In this context, in that context, it was for pest. So depending on the context, the meaning changes. Next is Chitrikaranam. Chitrikaranam meaning cutting and hybrid techniques. That is, if you have to grow a plant, like you see your different fruits are placed, right? Now sometimes you happens if you have to grow especially fruit trees or maybe vegetable plants or so, when you have to sow them in the soil, there are certain methods. Maybe you cut them diagonally or you cut them in a particular way and then you put it. That is in order to make the plant grow. This is one aspect. Another aspect is you can consider maybe people they learn this field, right? What is that? Hotel management, things like this. At that time, you have a particular subject, or you can say a particular topic, which talks about this cutting and grafting techniques. So maybe you go to some a function also or a wedding or so, the food that is placed there, maybe you can the salad section or something like that, that will be cut in a very unique way. We cut at our houses, it is not so. Maybe you take an example of a cucumber. How do we slice cucumbers? The normal way, round you cut it, right? Whereas you go to a maybe a very professional cook or so, what he will do is he will cut it diagonally, and then you can see those cuts, right? Or maybe a very again a beautiful example I'll give you is when we prepare modaks. Now for Ganpati festival, most of you would have done that. How do you prepare? Usually we do it with our hands. But some people when they prepare, you can see with their hands only they will prepare certain designs or do. And then you have molds also. What is that? It is the same modak. The taste is going to be the same. This is Chitri Karanam. Chitri Karanam means some kind of decoration. That is why this is done is you look at that, you feel like eating, right? Or maybe it can happen even the other way. It looks so beautiful that we don't feel like eating. So Chitrikaranam. Chitrikaranam is cutting things in a certain way. Then there are certain hybrid techniques that are used. Hybrid techniques is nothing but maybe for certain plants you have to use some chemicals. Certain plants you don't have to use some chemicals. So hybrid way. Hybrid way is sometimes for a few days you have to keep watering the plants. For a few days sometimes only sunlight is needed. So it depends on the you can say depends on the situation that is there, depends on the kinds of plants. So here Chitrikaranam has got two topics. Here in two ways you can look at this topic. One is only for, you can say, again let's not call it only as a show off also, but that also has an impact. The way trees are cut, the way plants are cut. So that is one part. And second is the way certain plants, when we sow only, we know that certain plants, or you can say fruits and vegetables, they have to be cut in a particular way, then only they have to sowed inside so that it can be grown properly. So this is the 11th chapter of Chitrikaranam. Next, Taru Mahima. Taru Mahima meaning, last chapter I told you there are 12 chapters in Vriksha Ayurveda, so obviously last chapter is going to be the Mahima, significance. So importance of trees for humanity. So we know save trees, save earth, save water, save earth. We know the importance of trees, let's not get into that now. So in general, the importance of trees. Then only in the 1000 CE, 1000th century, it was told that trees have to be preserved, otherwise it is going to lead to problems. So that's the reason even now you see when a lot of trees also are cut down, it leads to problems like global warming, this, that, and so many issues are coming up, right? Pollution. So Taru Mahima, the significance of trees. Okay. Next, then you have the concluding part. Matsya Puranam, what it tells is दशकूपसमावापि दशवापि समो हृदः दशरथसमः पुत्रो दशपुत्रसमो द्रुमः. So basically this is a comparative verse from the Matsya Purana. You have the reference verse also 154 5. That is in the 154th chapter, shloka number 5. Dashakupa samavapi. Dashakupa, kupa as well. One pond is equal to 10 wells. Dashavapi samo hridaha. 10 ponds are equal to one hridaha, one lake. Dasharatha Samaputraha, 10 lakes are equal to one child. Dashaputra Samodrumaha, one tree is equal to 10 children. So this, why this verse is there is just to, you can say, specify or signify the importance of trees. That is next. That's with this topic of Vriksha Ayurveda comes to an end. So Vriksha Ayurveda basically, if you see, a very small topic, but even in these 12 chapters of Vriksha Ayurveda, the importance of plants, sowing of trees, how plants have to be maintained. Now through this topic, you might feel that it is something very basic, right? Or where am I going to go and do some agriculture, farming, or so that we never know when such things can happen. Or mainly why we have to study this topic, or why I felt that it should be included, is so many things are mentioned in our own texts. Maybe we don't even know that such a text exists. Though, therefore, we should know that in our own texts, in our own, you can say, culture, some things have been mentioned, and people have been following these things for years together. Today, we feel that advanced methods of techniques of farming, agriculture, everything is being used. All that is fine. It would have been used. It is being used. No doubt on that. But then something so many years back, if Surapala has mentioned all this in detail, you see the richness of our own culture, of our own country. And we have to just, maybe we cannot do anything for that. We now, all of us, we don't have the capacity to write all these texts, right? So the least that we can do is at least study these texts. If you cannot study them in detail, at least know that such a text exists. So this is the least that we must know. And then if we don't know, then it is surely something, it is a loss. If we don't know, you'll not tell it to the future generations. That's when life ends there, right? Life ends in the sense, it will, knowledge goes away, and then the child will sit and wonder, oh, agriculture, I am just reading the same thing in my school. Drip irrigation, school, sprinkle irrigation, this irrigation, that irrigation, hybrid seeds, organic farming, that's it. Who introduced that? You'll have some name of a foreign author, or in general. Agriculture is a topic which is there in almost all school books, right? Be it science or geography, whatever it is. Or even type of crops that are there. Kharif crops, Rabi crops, this, that. All this is there, but like just as he says, it should be included in the school syllabus. It should be there, but more than fighting about that, it's whenever it will be included, well and good. Let's hope for the best, but at least from our side, now that you know, my request is you tell it to others also. You can share all this with them so that they know things. At least how much we now, it's just impossible for everyone to study everything, right? But at least something like this exists, and this now you tell to your own child, he'll find it so interesting. You don't have to maybe Now 24 gurus from Srimad Bhagavatam or something like that, it will little tough, right? Or maybe the child will feel, why I have to learn all this? Forget, you learn, you follow, the child will say. But such things, when you tell your children, that is maybe the same thing which the child would have learned in school also, you find it very interesting. You can show them, you can ask them, or other than showing, maybe now whatever I blabbered in about half an hour or so, maybe in about 5-10 minutes you can just explain and tell them, that's it, right? Then it's on the child to decide whether it is interesting also. If the child tells, no, it's boring, I don't have time to listen, you leave it. But always remember one thing, that people, when we tell them, maybe immediately they don't react, but especially children in that case, surely 10-15 years later they'll surely remember, oh yes, someone told me about this and it is useful. So why I'm telling this, only when we spread and we tell it to others, that's how knowledge spreads. Otherwise it just remains to ourselves, and then it is something which it will never spread, our knowledge will just go off waste. Now let I'm also included in the same list, right? Maybe we didn't know, even I don't know about such things. I just came across something, I did a few research, then I felt that no, we should tell others also. So that's how things spread. So whatever little we know, we must surely tell it to others. Otherwise, all the knowledge goes waste. Okay. So did everyone understand this topic of Riksha Ayurvedam? Yes. Okay. So did you all like it? Was it interesting? You don't have an option. Anyway, it's done. Still. Okay. So next topic that we start is, so Vriksha Ayurvedam is done. Next topic we start. Okay, so till now I will just tell you the topics which we have done. I think we did- yes, I think the first 5 topics. First was Vedas, Vedic literature. Next, in detail, we studied about Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda. Then Dhanurvedam. Next came the topic of 24 Gurus from Srimad Bhagavatam. And the next topic, Vriksha Ayurveda. Okay? So these are the few topics which we studied, and also Yoga Shastra. Sorry, Yoga Shastra was the first topic. So Yoga Shastram, Vedic Vangmayam, Dhanurvedam, hmm, Dhanurvedam. Next topic was 24 Gurus from Srimad Bhagavatam. And now the last topic, next topic, Vriksha Ayurveda. So you see the order little can go up and down. The PDF that I've shared, the order little will go up and down, but all the topics will be covered. Okay, now the next topic that we start is very small topic, but then story of few birds that is there in Sri Ramayana. Ramayana talks about the mention of few birds. Now you might be wondering, how come the Ramayana can talk about birds? Right? We know only about two birds in the Ramayana. Who are the two birds mentioned in the Ramayana? Jatayu, Sampati. Where is Garuda? Where Garuda comes? Ah, not Garuda. In the, I'm asking Ramayana. That is, yeah. So when later Hanuman goes and calls Garuda, okay, that is one mention. Okay, Nagas at that time. So basically, Jatayu, Sampati, and Garuda. Garuda you can consider as an Astra. He comes, not a very major character, but still. So, but apart from this, there are a few stories. Of, you can say, story or the mention of birds, which, okay. So the untold story of birds, as it is mentioned. So, sorry. Crow, correct. When the crow, Kakasura story. Yes, Jayanta, the son of Indra. So you also have the mention of crows. Right. Crow. Hmm. Indra's son Jayanta, the Kakasura story. So let's see. Sampati, he mentions about a few crows to the group of monkeys who come and approach him later. So let's start with this topic. How these crows are. First is Ramayana, epic of Bharata. First mention of the word is Jatayu. On the right side is a very popular place. I think it's in Kerala, right? Anyone has visited this place? On the right side, you see that picture. You heard about it. What's the name of the place exactly? I think Jatayu something. It's related to Jatayu only. I'll just find out. I'll tell you the name of the place. A very popular thing, a tourist spot it has become. I think it talks about some shows about the Ramayana also, and a place where it is believed that Jatayu came and so on. I don't know, but we don't have. It is in Kerala, but then Jatayu gone to Kerala. There is no reference as such, because near the Panchavati area only it is believed. That is in Maharashtra, or you can say central India towards Karnataka was a place where Rama Lakshmana had met Jatayu. But still, this place has been made in Kerala. So the first mention is Palangur, that is Kerala, right? Yeah. He fell there. Fell there is encounter with Ravana, right? But that is yeah. So maybe so here there are two aspects that you can consider. This reference is not there in the Valmiki Ramayana, so we don't know. So there can be two aspects for this. One is maybe when he was fighting with Ravana. Now Ravana, if you see, he picked up Sita from Panchavati, Nasik, Maharashtra. He has to go to Lanka. So obviously he has to pass about all the southern states and go. So it might have happened that Jatayu would have flown and maybe the place where he fell was Kerala. That can be one thing when he was fighting with Ravana. But then once he fell down, he could not get up because he lost both his wings, right? And surely we don't have the story that Rama met Jatayu in Kerala. So how far this is true, how far this is not, we don't know. Or maybe he fell and then he could fly back at least little. He came back near Panchavati also, we don't know. So there can be, because Valmiki Ramayana does not mention this, so therefore we cannot say with 100% authority. But the thing is mainly Ravana, this place that is created, it is in memory of Jatayu's encounter with Ravana. So the first word that is mentioned in the Ramayana is Jatayu. Next is obviously it has to be Sampati. Sampati, the elder brother of Jatayu, who meets the Vanarasena and he speaks to Hanuman and all the other monkeys. And here he narrates about different birds. Sampati narrates about different birds to Hanuman and the entire Vanarasena, Angada, Jambavan, Nala, Nila, and so on. What he says, this comes in the Kishkinda Kanda, you have the Sarga that's mentioned. ज्ञानेन खलु पश्यामि दृष्ट्वा प्रत्यागमिष्यत आद्यः पन्था कुलिङ्गानां ये चान्ये धान्यजीविनः द्वितीयो बलिभोजानां. What is Balibhoja? Anyone can guess which bird? Balibhoja. Balibhoja. You can guess. Crow. Crow. Sampati is telling all this. Crow. Balihi Bhojaha. That is why a crow is called a Bali Bhojakaha. Just a mention, or Bali Bhojana. Meaning crows. Now, especially now you have the Pita Paksha Kala that is started. We offer a lot of food, right, to the crows. That is actually Bali. It's the rice or Pinda Danam, whatever we do. Crows come and consume that. We believe that the Pitrus have accepted that. So, Bali Bhojakaha. This is one. Second references is even the dead bodies also sometimes. Now, dead bodies as such, crows don't go and eat. Indirectly, what they do is they consume the bali. That is a sacrificial food that we offer them. That's the reason it's called Bali Bhojaka. द्वितीयो बलिभोजानां ये च वृक्षफलाशिनः भासास्तृतीयं गच्छन्ति क्रौञ्चाष्टकुरसै सह शेनाश्चतुर्थं गच्छन्ति गृध्रा गच्छन्ति पञ्चमं बलवीर्योपपन्नानां रूपयौवनशालिना षष्ठस्तु मन्ता हंसानां वैनतेयगतिः परा वैनतेया च नो जन्म सर्वेषां वानरर्षभाः. So here what Sampati tells, he talks about various birds. What is that? First is Adhyaha. Adhyaha meaning first. First plane. Now this is what it talks now in the sky when we see birds flying. With our naked eyes, we can see maybe sparrows and crows flying, right? Maybe parrots and so on. Garuda, eagle, and so they will fly at a very, you can say, the height is quite more. So it is far, far away in the sky that you see eagles and vultures also flying. But certain birds, it seems that we cannot see in the sky itself at all. It is beyond human sight. So sparrows in the first plane of the sky. That's the first flight, first level. Beyond a certain level, they cannot fly. But even with regards to the flapping of the wings, you see crows also, crows, birds like that. Whenever they fly, continuously they have to keep flapping their wings. Otherwise, the bird will fall down. Whereas in the case of an eagle, vulture, or so, you see, for a long period of time, once they flap their wings for some time, for a long period of time, even if they keep their wings straight, they can fly, right? So this is a few features that are there. So the first plane, Adyapanta Kulingana, Kulinga is the sparrow. So in the first plane, sparrows fly. This is what Sampati mentions. द्वितीयो बलभोजना. Second plane is crows. That is Balibhojaka. Balibhojana, Balibhojana also you can say. So crows fly next. So first level sparrows. Next is crows. Third is Tritiyam Gachanti Kraunchaha. Kraunchaha is cranes. Cranes will fly in the third plane. See. Sparrows, crows, cranes. Next, Shenash Chaturtham Gachanti. Shenaha meaning falcon. So now such birds are rare. We don't see them properly, but still. Sparrows, crows, cranes, falcons. They fly next. So height wise it is Gridra Gachanti Panchamam. Vultures next. Shashtastu Banda Hamsana. Now this Hamsaha that has been mentioned in the Ramayana is no longer extant, no longer existing. That is, this species have gone extinct. They have become extinct. The swans that we know today are the swans that swim on water. So that is different. These swans are flying swans which used to fly at a very, you can say, height more than vultures. That is in the sixth plane. So instead of this, today what we have is a species called like the goose, particular category of goose which can fly very high in the sky. So especially all these categories, if you go to a zoo or so, you can see such birds not commonly flying. So this category of swans that Sampati mentions in the Ramayana is not existing today. They have gone extinct. But instead of that, you have a goose, category of goose, which looks quite similar, which flies in the sixth plane. Lastly, Sampati tells that the next plane or the last plane that is there, that is where Vainate Yagatif Para. Garuda flies in the last plane, and we, Garuda, Jatayu, Sampati, we are on the same level. We fly in the last plane. So why he tells all this is he is trying to tell the Vanaras the story where how once he burnt his wings due to the brightness, or you can say due to the light of the sun. So Jatayu and Sampati, because they could fly very high in the sky, they were flying almost close to the sun, and at that time, Jatayu went very close to the sun in order to save him, in order to save his wings from getting burned. Sampati tried to cover Jatayu and ended up burning his own wings. So because they were flying at that height, almost at the height of the sun. So first is sparrows, crows. What was the third one? Falcons. No, cranes, falcons. Then you have those swan, which is now by the goose. Next is you have, sorry, then you have the vultures. Then next is swan. The sixth one is swan, which is now replaced by the goose. And now you have the last is Garuda, Sampati, and Jata. So this is a mention of birds that is there in the Ramayana. So sparrows, crows, cranes, falcons, vultures, and the goose, which is now replaced by the swan. So these six, and even till date, if you see, Ramayana has happened so many years back. Even till date, this is the same order in which the birds fly. It's not changed. So today we have to study a birds, how a bird flies, where exactly it flies, what's the nature of birds. You can anytime refer to the Ramayana. It gives reference about birds also, the flight of birds and so on. So now, of course, you see even sparrows are also quite rare to see. Crows are seen in certain extent. So, but still, this is the same order in which we see. It's not that today in the Ramayana something was mentioned. Today vultures are flying low and crows are flying high. It doesn't happen that way. Even till date, crows are only the Balibhojakas, and that's the same thing that is happening. So this shows things that were mentioned thousands of years back. Even today, they make a lot of sense. Next, I think this is the only mention of Garudas. This is the only mention, a very small topic of birds that has been mentioned in the Ramayana. So, what through this what is shown is Sampati, when he, while he tells all this is, as I told you, in order to tell the story wherein how both of them started flying near the sun, and how both of them got caught in the sun, that is their wings were about to be burned, and that's when Sampati tried to safeguard the wings of Garuda and he ended up getting burned. So he wanted to prove here to tell that at every level that they were flying, it took a lot of time for, sorry, they were flying at a great height. So to explain that height and to make the Vanaras understand at what height they were flying, he ended up telling all this list of birds who are there. First plane these fly, second plane these fly, and we are at the topmost plane, or you can say the topmost highest level of the sky, and that's the reason we ended up burning our wings. Oh yes, someone was saying something. Eagle, eagle. But you see, eagle, or you can also consider Gridraha when we say that's an eagle. So Gridra Rajaha. Sometimes there is a confusion, but usually it is an eagle. He belonged to the category of this Garuda. Same. Yeah. So Garudaha itself, Garuda when it's a proper noun is a Vahana of Vishnu, and when it is in generally used as a common noun, it's an eagle. So you can also consider maybe Jatayu and Sampati to be also like a hybrid species of eagle and vulture both. But usually now, though Jatayu considered as a vulture, it is actually an eagle. That is more aspects of an eagle, more characteristics of an eagle. That is there. Okay, so could everyone follow this topic? A very small topic, not much in detail. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Now, okay. So today, time is almost up, but still, let's at least start with the next topic. A small introduction. This is the next topic, which is the 10 forms of Mahakali, or Dashamahavidya, as you call it. So that is this next forms that we have. So some of you might be familiar with this. For few of you, it might be a totally new topic. So Dashamahavidya, or the 10 forms of goddess Mahakali, that has been mentioned here. Next is, so we just start with this topic today. Now, Kali, Kalaha. This is a word that has come which means time. Before we delve into the topic, a few things. Kalaha is time or death. That means your time is up. When we say, or your time is ending, that means life is ending. Okay. So sometimes you just listen to this, you just read this if you see. Sometimes a moment seems like an eternity, and sometimes an eternity seems like a moment. Time is relative, it's an illusion of your mind. Simple example to understand this. Say, for example, you're waiting for someone. Maybe at the railway station or so, someone has told you, I'll come in about 10 minutes. You're simply waiting for the person to come. Those 10 minutes also seem to be like 10 hours, right? Then you continuously keep looking at your watch, time does not pass away. Whereas maybe you're spending time with a good person, your good friend or so. Even if you spend, say for example, 3 4 hours, still we say, no, I don't know how time passed, right? Time is more, but still that eternity, long period of time also seem to be like a moment. So it's all time is related. Depending on the situation, it changes. If you like a particular situation, if you like spending time doing things that you like, maybe you like spending time with people whom you love, time seems to be going very fast. But if maybe things are very boring, or maybe you don't like a particular thing, you don't like particularly waiting for someone or so on, or maybe some, let's take an example of our own class. Some people might feel 10:30 to 11:30 is very very interesting. You don't know, just now 10:30 was there, now 11:30 has come, and this happens in my case. 10:30 I plan, no, today all this so many things I have to speak. By 11:15 I say, oh, hardly one topic I spoke, right? This happens in my case. Whereas in your case, a few of you might feel 10:30 to 11:30, I don't know how time is going to pass. 1 hour she's going to speak something. I have to sit and listen. You keep looking at your watch, seeing how much, when it is going to end. Few of you might feel, oh, 11:30 is coming. Topic is quite interesting. It should not end. Topic is quite about, time is going about fast. It should not end. I'm very happy that the class is going on and so on. Right? So you wait, maybe. I hope it is a second category for everyone, not the first category. That you look at your watch and feel when 11:30 is coming. I hope it is a second this. Yes. Okay. So basically, yes. So the thing is, time is something which is relative, and we feel that it is an illusion of the mind. So the hours are same. 3 4 hours, maybe you spend with a person whom you like, or a good person doing good things. At that time passes off fast. But the same 3 4 hours, maybe you're waiting for someone or so. It seems to be like a very long period of time. So it is the time is the same, 3 or 4 hours. Or maybe one more example is, maybe you spend time doing good things or so, or maybe with a person who speaks good things, or doing something things that you enjoy. At that time goes about very fast. It's the same 3 hours. But whereas a person, maybe things are very boring, or maybe office hours or something like that, work doesn't, it goes very slowly. Time is same, but it's an illusion of the mind. Depending on the situation, time matters to us. So this is the concept of time, or kalaha, that is mentioned. You have the reference. Now this is has been mentioned by whom? Yoga Vasishta, which wherein Vasishta and Rama are having a conversation on this. Kshanaha swapne bhavet kalpaha, kalpashcha bhavati kshanaha. Kshanaha bhavet kalpaha, meaning sometimes a moment seems like eternity, never ends. Kalpashcha bhavati kshanaha. Eternity seems to be like moment. So Yoga Vasishta, it's a conversation between Vasishta and Rama. You have the concept of time that is told you. What is this? Thriti, 29 milliseconds. Prana, 4 seconds. Vinadi, Nadi, Muhurta, Yama, Ahoratra, Paksha. Paksha, all of us know. Shukla Paksha, Krishna Paksha. Now we have the Pitru Paksha, 15 days period. Masa, 1 month. Ritu, 2 months. We believe in Shad Ritus, 6 Ritus. Seasons, 2 months. Ayana, Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, 6 months. Varsha, 1 year. 1 Yuga. Now here you have the reference of only a Kali Yuga that is given, not for all Yugas. All Yugas, the time period is different. Kali Yuga is the least, 43 lakh years. Mahayuga, 4 Yugas. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. Manvantara, 71 Mahayugas. And 1 Kalpa is 14 Manvantara. So this is the division of time that is mentioned, nothing but Kalaha. Gita, the Lord says, Kalaf Kalayatamaham. I am that time. So time that we have in hand. Why do we say time is very precious? Don't waste it. Because it is considered to be a form of the Lord only. Lord Himself is time. He says, I am time. I am the one who controls everything in this universe. So when your time is up on this world, I call you back. When your time is there to be present, I send you down. So in the Gita also you have mention of time. Now you have two deities mainly who rule time. Kala Bhairava, god of time and death, and the goddess is Mahakali. So the Lord is there, Lord Krishna is there, Kala Bhairavashtakam. Devaraja Sevyamana Pavanam Vipankajam Vyalayajna Sutram Indushekaram Kripakaram, and so on. It's Kala Bhairavashtakam. Kala Bhairava's Mahima is spoken in this stotra. And Mahakali, obviously, you have goddess Kali, who is worshipped especially during Navratri. So both goddess Mahakali as well as Kala Bhairava, they are the rulers of time. You can say the god of time and death. Also, you have Lord Krishna. So further, the 10 forms of Mahakali are what which we are going to say in this topic. So today time is up. We will stop here. Next time we will continue.